Hey, folks, this is the Kentucky Fathers Podcast. Just wanted to share some things with my other brothers out there, other fathers out there. Hopefully, what I share is inspiring, motivating, and beneficial. One thing I wanted to say, guys, is also, please follow me at Kentucky Fathers. That's my Facebook page. Guys, what I wanted to share with you, I'm going to share with you a little bit of a personal story, and then sort of pull out of this personal story the big lesson, I guess you might say. When my wife left me, and she actually, before the divorce, she was having an affair with this guy, truck driver. The guy's doing pretty good, had a nice little house and all. And so they decided to get married. And it's a funny story in itself. I may share that with folks later. And then a few years later, my daughter stopped speaking to me. Actually, she sent me 2 letters. And they really weren't letters. They were just like, I think the longest one was like 2 sentences. And she said she didn't want to see me again. I was like stunned. That's all. That's all it said. So one day I was going up there where my daughter's living with her mother. And my ex-wife had a new husband, nice guy, and I'm sitting there and I'm knocking on the door. Well, I was about to go knock on the door, and I noticed these 2 cars in the driveway I hadn't seen before. So I talked to him, and he explains to me he bought my daughter a car. And he bought my daughter's big sister, her stepsister, a vehicle at the same time. He bought 2 cars at one visit. I was like, whoa, okay, dude's making a couple of dollars here. And I immediately said to myself, wow, that's quite a contrast. I get what he's doing. I feel it, but it's like I wouldn't have handled it that way. As opposed to buying my daughter a car, I would have taught her how to buy her own vehicle. I would have told her, well, let's walk through the steps. What do you need to do in order to get this vehicle? And why do you want this particular vehicle? And can you afford the debt? Do you understand depreciation, where this is an item of depreciation? It's not an asset. It's not an item that's going to put money in your pockets necessarily, unless you use it for business purposes. And it's not an item that's going to appreciate in value. And how are you going to make the money to make the car payment, to make the insurance payment, to make the maintenance, daily maintenance, and emergency repairs? I just would have sat her down and just talked to her on how to buy a vehicle. And then, she finally makes a decision. And then I would have said, okay, here's what I can do for you to help you out. I mean, just getting started, but here's what I can do to help you out. But I never would have bought the vehicle for her. Even if I bought the car for her and said, well, you got to make this payment at that payment, my attitude would be, no, I'm still going to teach you how to do it. So I talked to him about it. So I know he just basically just flat out bought the vehicle. I also came to understand that it's very important, particularly for our daughters. We have to teach them things. And that's far more important than giving them things. Teach them about how to buy a vehicle, how to do maintenance on a vehicle. Teach them on how to make money, how to manage money, and how to multiply money. And that may very well be things like, hey, let's get you a stock account. And not only teach them how to find an apartment, maybe even also how to buy a house. And maybe even at least introducing them to things on how to buy a house for investment. We have to teach them. There's nothing wrong with giving them a little hand up. Like, let's say I teach her how to get her own apartment. She gets her own apartment. She figures everything out on her own. And so then that's when I may intervene and say, hey, you did a good job. You got all this together. And so as your father, I'd love to make some sort of contribution. It's far more important we teach our young people, our sons and daughters, particularly our daughters, how to do things, not just giving them things. My daughter, she's a bright kid, but I knew, in fact, she's a third-generation college graduate in our family. Her grandfather's a college graduate. I was a college graduate. Now she's a college graduate. Our prayer is that she's going to go on to graduate school. My understanding is that she is going to graduate school right now. I plan to go on to graduate school at Patriot Bible University. They have a degree I want to study, and it's Christian education, so I'm going to study that. And hopefully later apply it by starting a school of sorts, some type of school. But I never forget when I was in high school, I wanted to go on to college. I made that decision. And I didn't know what to do. So I sort of mentioned to my father, and he said, well, here's what you do. He taught me how to find schools that I might be interested in. He taught me what to sort of look for, and he taught me how to contact the schools for information. And then he just sort of let me go through that whole process of trying to make a decision. He taught me how to apply for schools. He taught me how to choose. He didn't do it for me. He taught me how to do it. He really, at the time, he said he couldn't afford to send me to school, but he said there are ways you can get to school. There are things that you can do, and here's what's available to you. And in that whole process, it was important for him to teach me how to think, not what to think. Just think it through, son. Got to ask yourself questions. Got to make a plan. Those are the kind of things that are far more impactful and important than for you as a father just to give your sons and daughters stuff. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you have some feedback, love to have it. Love to receive it. And just, I hope that this podcast helps you become a better father today than what you were yesterday. Fathers are important. Fathers matter. Oh, one other thing, guys. Contact me. You can go to my Facebook page, send me a message if you want my father's poster. The poster basically says June is Fathers and Fatherhood Month. Send me $3 and I'll send you 2 posters.